Writing equations of parallel lines. So number one says draw a line that is parallel to the given line. And what you know from parallel lines is they really increase at sort of a constant amount, and they're never going to cross. And really, what I'm referring to is their slopes, right? So if I were to draw a parallel line, if I look at this line here, it looks like it's going up 1 over 2, right? Up 1 over 2. So in order to draw a line that's parallel to that, it's going to have that same sort of pattern, that same slope. So it doesn't matter where I start it. I'll just maybe start it here, and then I would just go up 1 over 2 and go in the same direction that line is going in. So that line is parallel. So the idea is that in order for two lines to be parallel, parallel lines have the same slope. They have the same slope. That's a fact. All parallel lines have the same slope. So as we write equations that are parallel to other lines, we need to keep that in mind, that it needs to have the same slope. And that's something you're going to want to memorize there. So number 2 says, write equations that are parallel to the given lines and go through the given point. Write the equations in point slope form. So let's just remember, we're going to write it in point slope form for these questions. Okay. So A says parallel to 4x plus 1 and goes to the point of 3 comma negative 5. So if it's parallel to y equals 4x plus 1, it must have the same slope as y equals 4x plus 1. And the slope of this line is 4 because it's written in slope-intercept form. So that slope is 4. So we have our slope and we have this point. So if we write it in our point slope form that we've been working with, I'm going to write y plus 5 equals, I need that 4 there for my slope. I'm going to bold that just so that you really see it. Parentheses x minus 3. There we go. That is in point slope form and it's parallel. B, same thing. So parallel to y plus 10 equals negative 5x plus 7 and goes to the point negative 2 comma 4. So if it's going to be parallel, it just needs to have the same slope. So again, I'm going to identify the slope. Now this equation's in point slope form. So this is the slope I need to use. And this is the point. So I'm going to write y minus 4 equals, my slope is negative 5. I'm going to bold that negative 5. And then x plus 2. And remember, so I'm using point slope form. So remember, point slope form is y minus y1 equals x minus x1. And we've done a number of that, a number of examples with point slope form in the past. So that's it. You're just going to use the idea that parallel lines have the same slope. So I'll let you do C, D, and E. E is a little tougher because you do have to figure out the slope. You're going to convert that to y equals mx plus b on E. So be careful with that. Okay. Number 3 says write equations that are parallel to the given lines and go through the given point. But it says write the equations in slope-intercept form. And there's a couple ways to do that, but I'm going to show you just one of those ways. So parallel to y equals 3x minus 5. So it needs to have the same slope as y equals 3x minus 5. So it must have this slope of 3. And it must go through this point. So I'm going to write it in point slope form first. I know the question says to write your answer in slope intercept form, but I'm going to write it in point slope form, and then I'm going to convert it into slope intercept form. That's how I'm going to do these problems. And there's a different way, but this is the way I'm going to do these problems. So I'll write it in point slope form first. Y minus 7 equals 3 parentheses x minus 1. So I have it in point slope form right now. So now I'm going to write it in slope intercept form because the question wants it in slope intercept form. So I'm going to distribute my 3. And remember, slope intercept form is that y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to distribute the 3. So I have y minus 7 equals 3x. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. And then I'm going to add the 7 over. Remember, we're trying to isolate y. Negative 3 plus 7 is 4. There we go. So that's the way I like to do it. If it wants it in slope-intercept form, I first just put it in point-slope form and then convert it to slope-intercept form. So I'll show you B, parallel to negative 4x plus 1. So it's got to have this negative 4 slope in order for it to be parallel. And it's going to go through this point. So I'm going to write it in point-slope form first. So I'll have y minus 13 equals negative 4 parentheses x plus 2. But I want it in slope-intercept form. So I need to isolate y. I'm first going to distribute here. So negative 4 times x, negative 4x, negative 4 times positive 2 is negative 8. Want to get y isolated, so I'm going to add 13 to both sides. So now I'm left with y equals negative 4x. Negative 8 plus 13 is 5. So now it's in slope-intercept form. And that's the idea. So I'll let you do the rest. I'll let you do the rest of the page. Remember, this is like a slope of negative 1 on this one. Number 4 says, write an equation for the line that passes through 4, negative 5 and is parallel to the line that passes through 2, 8, and 12, 23. Write your equation in point-slope form. Okay. Oops. One in point-slope form. Now, this is where this one gets a little harder because it says it goes through this point, 4, negative 5, but it's parallel to the line that passes through these points. It's parallel to the line that passes through those points. So we need to find the slope of a line that would go through those 2 points. And I'm just going to use the slope formula. We're going to, you could kind of visualize it with rise over run, but I'm going to use the slope formula. And remember that slope formula, let me rewrite it here. It would be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to call this x1, y1, this x2, y2. So I need to find the slope of a line that would go through those 2 points before I can do anything else. Because I need to, in order to write a parallel line, I need to know what that slope is. So here we go. 23 minus 8 over 12 minus 2. That would be 23 minus 8 is 15. 12 minus 2 is 10. So 15 divided by 10 is 1.5, but I'm going to keep it as a fraction. I'm going to simplify that fraction. 15 over 10 simplifies to 3 over 2. So that's my slope. I'm going to underline that a little bit. So I have my slope, and I have this point earlier that I underlined in blue up here. And it wants it in point slope form, so we're good now. We got the slope. We got a point. So here we go. Y plus 5 equals 3 halves, parentheses, x minus 4 in point slope form. Okay, so these you just have to find the slope first. Let me show you one more. I'm going to let you do 5. I'm going to do 6. Reason being is because this one's a tad bit different because it says wants it in slope-intercept form. So write an equation for the line that passes through 6, 9 and is parallel to the line that passes through negative 4, negative 1 and 8, 3. Okay. So again, the first thing we need to do is, since it's parallel to the line that passes through this, we need to find the slope of the line that passes through those 2 points. So I'm going to use that slope formula again. So my slope, I'll label this again, x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to have 3 minus negative 1, y2 minus y1 on top. And then on the denominator, we'll have x2 minus x1. So 8 minus negative 4. 3 minus negative 1 is 4. 8 subtract negative 4 is 12. 4 over 12, that is 0.3 repeating. If you were to type that in, I'm going to just keep it as a fraction. I'll simplify it, though. I'm going to simplify that to 1/3. Okay, so here we go. We have our slope, and we have the point. Now, remember, it wants it in slope-intercept form, but I personally, what I like to do is write it in point-slope form first and then convert it. So I'm going to write y minus 9. Remember, I'm using this point up here. 1/3 x minus 6. But it wants it in slope-intercept form, so I'm going to distribute the 1/3. 1/3 times x is just 1/3 x. 1/3 times -6 would be -2. Remember, slope-intercept forms y equals mx plus b, so I need to isolate my y variable. So it says y minus 9, so I need to add 9 on both sides. So once I do that, I'm going to have 1/3 x. -2 plus 9 is 7. And there you have it. I'll let you do the rest.